Hello all. Let's begin with the topic of biological classification. So what is biological classification? We already know, according to NCERT, we have around 1.7 to 1.8 million of species so far discovered. We are not stating it as there is only 1.7 to 1.8 millions of species. We so far have discovered these many types of species. So, why do we need a biological classification is since the dawn of civilizations, all the civilizations are been set up and ended. By the time we need we need an attempt to classify the organisms, because we have to study about each and every form of organisms. How do they help us? Previously, there are many attempts to classify the living organisms. Previously, they have discovered mainly for food, shelter, and clothing. So, what are the organisms will be helpful for food, and what and all will be helpful for shelter, and what and all for clothing? Like this, they classified the organisms. But we need a scientific way of classifying the organisms. What is the scientific way? Scientific way in the sense you have to done by identifying. You need to classify the attempt by seeing how we can able to classify based on the morphology, or based on anatomy, or based on mode of nutrition, or based on mode of reproduction, or based on type of cell. So based on that, their food habits, everything we can able to understand. So let's see several attempts of classifying things. Like if you see the same type of chapter, you will be seeing in evolution. In evolution also, they will be starting it as how you will be understanding the concept of theory of evolution. Like this, here also, from the very first attempt to the most accepted attempt, we are going to see. So it was done instinctively, not using criteria that were scientific, but born out to be the need of use of organism for their own. As I told you, for this point, we have been classified the organism based on the food, based on the shelter, based on the clothing. So they have classified the organism in this way only, based on the need. There is no scientific method of classifying the organisms till then. So the very first attempt was bring brought by Aristotle. We already know Aristotle is considered as father of zoology, and he is the father of biology as well, and he is a Greek philosopher. He is the one who first given an early attempt to more scientific basis of classification. When scientific basis means not simply for clothing, food and shelter. He classified the organisms based on the very simple morphological characters. So by seeing itself, he started the attempt of seeing and the similarity of the species morphologically. So he considered the morphological way of classifying the organisms. So what is the one he considered? This is very important point from NCERT basis. He considered morphological basis. If you see R.H. Whitaker, you can able to tell the cell wall, cell type, nuclear membrane, mode of nutrition, mode of reproduction, and we have the phylogenetic, all these things. So but Aristotle has been made an attempt to classify the organisms mainly based on the morphological characters, and he classified the plants into trees, shrubs and herbs. Trees are having very big trunk and very bigger ones. Shrubs, medium sized ones, and you will be having woody stems, all those things. But herbs, very short ones, they don't have any woody stems or branches, and mostly these are used for medicines as well, herbs. And he also divided the animals, if the animals have red blood cell or red blood or don't have. So he has given one terminology. Let me discuss with you. Anaima, which means no red blood. Okay, Inaima, which means having red blood. Got it? And in linear, Linnaeus, the next attempt was being done by Carolus Linnaeus. We already know him. He is the father of taxonomy. He is the one who has given the two kingdom classification. He is the one who has given the artificial system of classification as well. And he wrote many books. Out of that, the two famous books are Species Plantarum. So Species Plantarum will give us regarding the names of the plants, and Systema Naturae is the one which gives the names of the animals. So he has given the two kingdom classification, which means Plantae and Animalia. He classified the things into two kingdoms. One is Plantae and other one is Animalia. He developed that including all plants and animals respectively. So all plants, but what he have done is he included the bacteria, blue-green algae, fungi, algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, right? Angiosperms and gymnosperms. Into one category, right? Under animals, he took forward to the amoeba, paramecium, into animals, vertebrates, invertebrates, so the system do not distinguish between, so was developed, and this couldn't distinguish between eukaryotic as well as prokaryotic, unicellular as well as multicellular. So eukaryotic as well as prokaryotic, unicellular as well as multicellular organisms. And coming to photosynthetic, which is green algae, and non-photosynthetic fungi organisms. So classification of organisms into plants and animals were easily done and was easy to understand. So he didn't took a note of unicellular but a multicellular, or at the same time he didn't took any chance of eukaryotic, prokaryotic, photosynthetic or non-photosynthetic. A large number of organisms do not fall into either of the category, such as Euglena. They are photosynthetic as well as non-photosynthetic, mixotropic nutrition. Hence, the two kingdom classification was used for a long time, was found inadequate. So it is used for a long time, but they found it as inadequate. So beside the gross morphology, a need was felt to including other characters. So they also included not only the photosynthetic and non-photosynthetic, or not only the movement and no movement. So they also included the other things like cell structure, nature of wall, mode of nutrition, habitat, and method of reproduction, evolutionary relationship, etc. They also have to be added. So the classification system for living organisms have hence undergone several changes over time. So which is used for a long time, the two kingdom classification is not accepted. Though the plants and animal kingdoms have been constant under all different systems. So have been constantly, because they don't change. The understanding of what group organisms be included under these kingdoms, how we have to segregate, have been changing. So the number and nature of other kingdoms have also been understood differently by different scientists over the time. So how the different groups will be there, they understood from this. So here is the most accepted system of classification, that is R.H. Whitaker 5 kingdom system of classification. So R.H. Whitaker proposed a 5 kingdom classification. The kingdom defined by him was Kingdom Monera, Kingdom Protesta, so Kingdom Fungi, Kingdom Plantae, and Kingdom Animalia. Remember, fungi is the very first time is seen in R.H. Whitaker 5 kingdom classification. Before going into this, let's see regarding 2 kingdom, 3 kingdom, like that. So we have 2 kingdom, 3 kingdom, 4 kingdom, 5 kingdom, 6 kingdom, right? So let's talk about these things. Let's talk about the 2 kingdom system of classification. Coming to the 2 kingdom system of classification, so let's talk about who has given these things. This is given by Carolus, Linnaeus. And coming to the 3 kingdom system of classification, this is given by Ernst Haeckel. And 4 kingdom. This system was given by Copeland. And 5 kingdom. This system was given by R.H. Whitaker. And 6 kingdom. This system was given by Carl Woese. And let's talk about how they divided these kingdoms. We already know, just very simple, it's 2. Kingdom Plantae, which he included all the bacteria, blue-green algae, and he included the bacteria, fungi, algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms, and Animalia. Here, Ernst Haeckel is the one who first classified all the eukaryotics, unicellular eukaryotics, into one kingdom, that is Kingdom Protesta. Here only first time you can able to see the Kingdom Protesta. The same Kingdom Plantae will be there, Kingdom Animalia, and Kingdom Protesta is added. So, and now coming to the Copeland, and this is the first kingdom in which Kingdom Monera is added. Kingdom Monera, Kingdom Monera, Kingdom Protesta. So every kingdom was been upgraded. Kingdom Plantae and Kingdom Animalia. We already know the 5 kingdom. So Kingdom Plantae, Kingdom Monera, newly added kingdom about all this thing is Kingdom Fungi. So the 4 become 5. And 6 kingdom, Carl Woese, very simple. They splitted this Kingdom Monera into 2 kingdoms. So Archaea and U. So that's how it made the 6. Archaea and U. Right? And next we have the Kingdom Monera, Protesta, Plantae, Animalia and Fungi. That's how it makes 6. So, and we can also call the 6th kingdom as 3 domain. 3 domain in the sense, we have 3 domains. Archaebacteria, Eubacteria, and we have the Eukaryota. And we call the 5 kingdom as 2 domain, because we have only 2 domains. So one is prokaryota and other one is eukaryota. Under prokaryota you have only 1 kingdom, but under eukaryota you have 4 kingdoms. So let's talk about, so classification included by him, the cell structure, and we have the body organization as well, means unicellular or multicellular. We have the mode of nutrition, mode of reproduction and phylogenetic relationships. So it is given a comparatively account in the table here for the characteristics of 5 kingdom. Kingdom Plantae, Kingdom Monera. So Kingdom Monera, coming to the cell type, prokaryotic. This is the only kingdom which has the prokaryotic thing. And we have the Protista. All the unicellular eukaryotic are placed under kingdom Protista. All unicellular eukaryotic. If you can see, if it is unicellular eukaryotic, so it is placed under Protista. Previously, Chlorella and Chlamydomonas are studied under kingdom Plantae under algae, but now it is studied under kingdom Protista. Previously, amoeba and paramecium are studied under kingdom Animalia, but now we are studying under kingdom Protista. Right? Next, kingdom Fungi, which is eukaryotic, multicellular and saprophytic. So we have the yeast here, unicellular, which is also will comes under the kingdom Protista. But we study under kingdom Fungi because of those characteristics. And kingdom Plantae, all are autotrophic in nature, multicellular as well as autotrophic in nature. So cell type, prokaryotic, and remaining all the three are the eukaryotic kingdoms. Coming to the cell wall, which is non-cellulosic polysaccharide plus amino acid, which means we call it as peptidoglycan. Peptidoglycan is made up of N-acetyl muramic acid plus N-acetyl glucosamine. Right? So here, present in some, in Protista it is present in some, and cellulose like. And here we have the chitin. Chitin is a homopolymer. So this is also made up of N-acetyl glucosamine. And here it is plants. It is made up of cellulose. Cellulose, hemicellulose, pectin, lignin. We have the suberin, and we have the calcium pectate in the middle lamella, galactans, mannans in the algae. All these things will come under the plant kingdom. And here the cell wall itself is absent. Coming to the nuclear membrane. The nuclear membrane, as usual, if you know the prokaryotic, here it is absent. But for the eukaryotic, in all these scenarios, the nuclear membrane is present. And the next thing is body organization. So these two kingdoms, kingdom Monera and Protista, are having cellular level of organization. Okay, so the body organization is made up of unicellular. Coming to the organization level, we call it as subcellular level. Right? We call this as subcellular level because it consists of unicells, only single cells. And we have the multicellular here, but loose tissue. So here we start with the tissue level of organization. And here we have the tissue and organ. Here we have tissue, organ system. Coming to the mode of nutrition. So you have more diversity in the mode of nutrition here. We have the autotrophic. In the autotrophic also, we have the chemosynthetic. Like, let me tell you, coming to the chemosynthetic, nitrogen fixing bacteria, Nitrococcus, Nitrosomonas, Nitrobacter. These are chemosynthetic. Theobacillus, Pseudomonas. So these will come under chemosynthetic. Next, photosynthetic. So autotrophic as well as photosynthetic. Photosynthetic we already know. Blue-green algae like Anabaena, nostoc. So usually these are Anabaena and nostoc can live freely, but in symbiotic association only it can fix the nitrogen. And next, heterotrophic. So we all know they are the saprophytic as well as parasitic, disease causing, like Mycoplasma erythritis. These will form disease. We have the main disease causing bacteria are Streptococcus pneumoniae, Haemophilus influenza, and we have Mycobacterium leprae, Mycobacterium tuberculosis. We have Staphylococcus bacteria, all these things. Coming to here, when it comes to, we have all the three varieties. We have the plant-like, animal-like and fungi variety. We have the autotrophic, means photosynthetic, and we have the heterotrophic as well. And we have the disease-causing parasites also when it comes to kingdom Protista. Here, mainly it is categorized as heterotrophic. They don't produce their own food at all. But fungi, I'm talking about kingdom fungi. And we have mainly the saprophytic, means decomposing one, and as well as disease-causing one. Right? And coming to the autotrophic, so which is photosynthetic. All are photosynthetic in nature when it comes to kingdom plantae. Heterotrophic. Heterotrophic will be holozoic in nature. Okay. Heterotrophic will be holozoic in nature, which means they will be taking the food as solid. And saprophytic. The meaning of saprophytic is, so that will decompose the dead and decaying matter. So these things are present. So let's talk about the three domain system of classification. We already seen the sixth kingdom we already called as the three domain system of classification. It divides the kingdom into 6 kingdoms. Means they divided the kingdom Monera into 2 domains. One is Archaea and other one is Eu. So leaving the remaining 1 domain for eukaryotic kingdoms. Thereby 3 domain are thereby a 6 kingdom classification. You will learn about these systems in higher classes. So let's talk about here the widely accepted system of classification, that is 5 kingdom, R.H. Whittaker 5 kingdom system of classification. So let us look at the 5 kingdom classification to understand the issues and consideration that influenced the classification systems. Early, the classification system include bacteria. Early they included bacteria, blue-green algae, fungi, mosses, ferns, gymnosperms and angiosperms. So they should not include the bacteria, because bacteria we have the parasitic, saprophytic, and we have the chemosynthetic, autotrophic. So blue-green algae is autotrophic, but it is unicellular in nature. So let's talk about how we have to classify. Previously in the 2 kingdom classification, they have given bacteria, blue-green algae and fungi in 1 kingdom. So that is kingdom Plantae. So under plants, the character that unified the whole kingdom was that all organisms are having their cell walls. So mainly, what is the main point that the 2 kingdom system of classification is considered is cell walls. If they have cell walls, they will come under the kingdom Plantae. So this placed together the groups which widely differed in other characters. So they placed the different categories in one group. It brought together the prokaryotic bacteria and the blue-green algae with other groups which were eukaryotic. They also grouped together the unicellular organisms and the multicellular ones. For example, say Chlamydomonas and Spirogyra. They both are placed together under kingdom Algae. The classification did not differentiate between, so they were placed together under kingdom Algae because they both are photosynthetic in nature. And this is unicellular and this is multicellular, filamentous algae. But they are placed under the same category. So, but the classification did not differentiate it between heterotrophic group fungi and autotrophic group plants, though they are also shown a characteristic difference in their cell wall composition. Even if you see, fungi will be having chitin and bacteria will be having peptidoglycan and plants will be having cellulose. So they couldn't able to differentiate that. So because we can see that fungi has chitin in their walls, while the green plants have cellulosic cell wall. When such characteristics were considered, fungi was placed in separate kingdom, that is kingdom fungi, because they are mainly heterotrophic and saprophytic. All prokaryotic organisms are grouped together under kingdom Monera, and unicellular eukaryotic are placed under the kingdom Protista. The kingdom Protista has brought together the Chlamydomonas and Chlorella. These are the unicellular green algae. So earlierly they was placed under kingdom Algae within plants, both having cell walls. But later they according to R.H. Whitaker classification, they have to come for under kingdom Protista. Previously, the Paramecium and amoeba, which has earlierly placed under the animal kingdom, which lacks the cell wall, which do not have the cell wall, it has put together the organisms which in earlier classification. But now they don't have cell wall. So that's why they placed in kingdom Animalia. But these are unicellular eukaryotic. So were placed in different kingdoms. So this happened because of the criteria for classification has changed. Previously they took cell wall mainly. So this kind of changes will take place in future too, depending on the improvements in our understanding of characteristics and evolutionary relationship. Over time, an attempt has been made to evolve classification system which reflects not only the morphological, we should also consider the physiological, reproductive similarities also. But is also the phylogeny, that means based on the evolutionary relationship. Or not always morphology, physiology should be considered and their reproductive similarities also should be considered. So in this chapter, we are studying in detail about kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi, and of the R.H. Whitaker system of classification, because this is the most widely accepted system of classification. So the kingdom Plantae and Animalia was separated will study in under separate chapters itself. So in this, the kingdoms are dealt separately, respectively. We'll deal in chapter 3 and chapter 4. So let's talk about the kingdom Monera. So under kingdom Monera only, they have given the two categories. That is kingdom Archaea and kingdom Eukaryota. So eubacteria, Archaebacteria, eubacteria, and we have the mycoplasmas as well. Okay. So let's talk about kingdom Monera. So in kingdom Monera, we already know that kingdom Monera is the one which has unicellular prokaryotic. This is unicellular prokaryotic, right? And coming to the next thing, and they don't have any nuclear membrane. They are unicellular and cellular unicellular which having subcellular organization. Cell wall is present. Nuclear membrane is absent. Because these are prokaryotic, right? From the single word is going to tell you that is unicellular in nature, as well as they are prokaryotics. Means they should not, there is no any nuclear membrane. But cell wall is present. The cell wall is made up of the material called peptidoglycan, right? So in the peptidoglycan is made up of N-acetyl muramic acid and N-acetyl glucosamine, right? And also the gram-positive bacteria is having thecoic acid in their cell wall. This is one important point you have to remember. So this kingdom Monera is again divided into, we have the three categories mainly, Archaea and we have the eubacteria, two categories mainly. Under Archaebacteria you have halophiles, thermoacidophiles, methanogens. So let's talk about kingdom Monera. Bacteria are the sole members of kingdom Monera. So but let's understand one statement. All bacteria comes under Monera. All bacteria are monerans, but all monerans are not bacteria. Understand? So bacteria is one of the category under kingdom Monera, but all monerans are not bacteria. We have the archibacteria type, and we have the mycoplasmas, we have the many other categories also is there. Why we have to consider only bacteria? Because majorly bacteria, all the bacteria are placed under kingdom Monera. So sole members, bacteria are the very important members of kingdom Monera. They are the most abundant microorganisms. Yes, you can have the chemosynthetic bacteria, photosynthetic bacteria, and you can have this saprophytic bacteria, parasitic bacteria. Bacteria occurs in almost everywhere. They are cosmopolitan. Hundreds of bacteria are present in the handful of soil. They also live in extreme habitats such as hot springs. We call it as thermoacidophiles. So thermophiles, deserts, and snows also thermophiles, because they can live in extreme temperatures. And deep oceans, means more than 100 to 1000 degrees Celsius. Very few other life forms can survive. Very few life forms, many of them can live in or on other organisms as parasites. So where very few organisms can survive, there this archibacteria will be surviving. Yeah. So that's how they are like very primitive bacteria. You can also call it as primitive bacteria. Bacteria are grouped under based on their shapes, like spherical, which means coccus. Cocci means plural. Rod shaped. Bacillus, singular. Bacilli is plural. And we have the comma shaped bacteria, Vibrio. So cocci, let me tell you, streptococcus, which will cause the pneumonia. Staphylococcus, staphylococcus. We have rod shaped bacteria, lactobacillus, which is for the production of lactic acid. And comma shaped bacteria, Vibrio cholera. And Vibrio is the plural word. Vibrium is singular. And spirillum, which is plural, is spirilla. So we have four major shapes of bacteria. This is cocci. So if this cocci is two cocci, we call it as diplococci. If we have like a chain, streptococci. If we have like a clump, staphylococci. So these are the terminologies we have to understand. Bacilli, rod shaped. These are plural, that's why they named it as bacilli. Singular, we call it as bacillus. Cocci, the singular is coccus. And if we have this two bacilli is been combined, we call it as diplobacilli. And if they are like chain like arrangement, we call it as streptobacilli. And if it is like arranged like a bunch, we call it as staphylobacilli. Right. And this is the spirillum, and in plural we call it as spirilla. So and this is Vibrio, comma shaped. Vibrium is the singular, Vibrio is plural. Cholera, Vibrio, which will form the cholera. Though the bacterial structure is very simple, so but they are very complex in behavior because they have very mode of nutrition. They undergo asexual reproduction, they undergo sexual reproduction, and they undergo transformation, conjugation, transformation. These things they will undergo. Compared to many other organisms, bacteria are grouped as the most extensive metabolic diversity. So this is very important point. Bacteria as the most extensive metabolic diversity. Some bacteria are autotrophic. They synthesize their own food from inorganic substance. Like I told you, nitrogen fixing bacteria, the bacteria which will be converting the nitrates and nitrates, Nitrococcus, Nitrosomonas, Nitrobacter, Pseudomonas, Theobacillus. They may be a photosynthetic autotrophic or chemosynthetic autotrophic. They are the vast majority of bacteria. Photosynthetic autotrophic such as sulfur bacteria. So there the main substrate is not water, it is H2S. And we have the heterotrophs, because heterotrophs they mostly live as a parasites, disease causing agents. Salmonella typhi. so which is typhoid causing bacteria, and they depend on other organisms on dead and decaying matter also, dead organic matter for decaying process also. Let's see about the various types of kingdom Monera. Archaebacteria, they are very special bacteria. They live in the most harsh habitats, such as more than 100 degrees to more than 1000 degrees Celsius. Even in extreme salty areas, we call that as halophiles. Hot springs, thermoacidophiles. And in marshy areas, methanogens. These are the three categories we see under archaebacteria. They can live under 100 to 1000 degrees Celsius. Archaebacteria will be different from other bacteria, having different cell wall. The cell wall structure will be different, and their future is responsible for the survival in extreme conditions. So methanogens are present in the gut of several ruminant animals such as cows, buffaloes, and they are responsible for the production of methane, biogas. So you can see in case of anaerobic digesters also, they'll use this methanogens. Why? Because they will produce the biogas. And gobar gas, where the cow dung is used, we call it as gobar gas, and from the dung of these animals. Eubacteria. We already have seen the various shapes and sizes of bacteria: cocci, spirillum, vibrio, bacillus. And let's see, they are the 1000 different types of eubacteria, or true bacteria we call it as. They are characteristics by the presence of rigid cell wall, which is made up of peptidoglycan. If motile, they have flagellum. The cyanobacteria, also referred to as blue-green algae. So having chlorophyll A similar to the green plants. Remember, chlorophyll A is the chief photosynthetic pigment. Without chlorophyll A, the photosynthesis will not take place. In blue-green algae, we have the mesosomes, which has pigments. We call that as chromatophores. Similar to the green plants, and are photosynthetic autotrophs. So the cyanobacteria are unicellular, colonial. We have very different categories. They are the unicellular, or live in as colonies, or filamentous. Freshwater, marine, terrestrial, all the categories we have. So they are the unicellular, colonial, filamentous, freshwater, marine water, and terrestrial algae. The colonies are generally surrounded by a gelatinous sheet. So here you can see this is the nostoc blue-green algae, which is surrounded by a gelatinous sheet. This is the gelatinous sheet which is surrounded. So they often forms blooms in the polluted water bodies. If you can see the normal lakes and rivers, you have a mat of green mat on the top of the water will be floating. That is none other than the cyanobacteria. Some of the organisms can fix the nitrogen in specialized cells called the heterocyst. In this only, specialized cells, we call these specialized cells as heterocyst. So in this heterocyst only it can fix the atmospheric nitrogen. So nostoc and anabina, these are the best example for having heterocyst. So this is colonial bacteria, colonial blue-green algae, so which is surrounded by the gelatinous sheet, mucilaginous sheet, and we have some of the cells as heterocyst. So chemosynthetic autotrophic bacteria oxidize the inorganic substances such as nitrates and ammonia, and use it to release the energy for their ATP. So they will use the released energy for their ATP production. They play a great role in recycling the nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, iron, sulfur, etc. Heterotrophic bacteria. These are the most, in the category of eubacteria also, we have autotrophic bacteria as well as heterotrophic bacteria. In the autotrophic bacteria, we have the blue-green algae. Okay, in chemosynthetic bacteria, we have the nitrogen fixing bacteria. So means the formation of nitrates. And the most abundant in nature. They are the majority are important decomposers. Many of them are significant in human affairs, such as you can see Aspergillus niger will produce the citric acid, so which is a fungi. And we have the acetobacterium butylenum, which is butyric acid, and lactobacillus, which will produce the lactic acid. And they are the chief impact on human affairs. They helps in making the curd for milk. It's lactic acid bacteria or lactobacillus. And we have the production of antibiotics. And we have the fixing nitrogen in legume, so like as rhizobium, frankia, roots. Some of the pathogens causing damage in human beings, like disease causing agents, crops, farm animals, pets. So cholera, typhoid. Cholera is caused by Vibrio cholera. Typhoid is caused by Salmonella typhi. Tetanus is caused by Mycobacterium tetani. Citrus canker, which is bacterial infection, is known as the different bacteria. Here they have given the dividing bacterium. So bacteria will reproduce mainly by fission. Sometimes under unfavorable condition, they produce spores. So they also reproduce by sexual reproduction, by adapting the primitive type of transferring the DNA from one bacterium to other, which we call it as conjugation. Mycoplasma are the organisms that completely lack cell wall. So they are the smallest living cells, known cells. They can survive without oxygen also. So they are anaerobic. Many mycoplasmas are pathogenic to plants as well as animals. So mycoplasma urethritis we get, and for the mycoplasmal diseases to the plants also.